Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about how to be rooted, how to grow deep and live strong. And we've talked about the big narrative that we can find throughout the Bible, the story that God's been telling from the beginning, a story that God created. It was good. He placed us in the garden, and his hope was that we would walk with him and get to know him, and we would grow in our relationship with him while managing all that he had created. Along the way, we broke that partnership, and really the story of the Bible from start to finish, from Genesis 1 to Revelation, is about God trying to restore that relationship and that partnership with us. Now, we also talked about really what does this story mean for us, that the message of the Bible is not just about partnership, but the path that we've gone is the path from exile to home. Adam and Eve were exiled from the garden. Israelites were exiled from the promised land. We are exiled from God, and yet he has always given us a way to come home. And so when we follow Christ, it's really a time of coming home to be with him. This weekend, I want to talk to you about, well, how does all that happen? How does Jesus talk about this mission, and how do we move into this place where we are growing and we are living strong? And so I came out to one of my favorite parks. It's a place where our family comes regularly. It's called Signal Point. It's at the top of Signal Mountain on the south side of the mountain towards downtown. And it's really just gorgeous. There are lots of places to sit and to look. It will be absolutely crowded on a nice weekend. And you can get some amazing views of the river and the Chattanooga area. If you've never been to Signal Point, you should come up here for sure. One of the things we love about it are its trails. You can hike a good ways throughout Signal Mountain, just starting at this park. And normally as you walk through, the paths are very clean and neat. And the beginning, if you want to come out and go for a hike, just recognize at the beginning there are going to be some steep areas of steps and stones that you have to walk over. So make sure you're prepared for that. And I wanted to walk out to one of my favorite clearing areas where you can come out on a rock, you can look over a valley. It's just absolutely beautiful. But when I started walking down the trail, I noticed that the trail has been blocked. Now, if you look behind me, you can see the trees and the brush and the branches that have fallen off of this cliff and have now covered this hill. Now, it blocks the path, so I had to kind of work my way around. But I found something really interesting, because what I wanted to share with you was the story of Jesus this weekend and the parable of the soils, where Jesus is talking to a lot of people. And he says the kingdom of God is this place where it's like this sower goes out and sows the seed and scatters it. And I just imagine that there was actually somebody there sowing seed as Jesus is talking, and they're watching this whole thing go down. There's a sower, and he scatters this seed, but the seed goes all over the place. Now, some of that seed lands on the hard path, and the birds come and they eat it, and it takes it away. The symbolism is that the seed is the gospel, it is the message, it is this hope of returning from exile. It is this repartnering with God. It is not only forgiveness and salvation, but knowing God in a really intimate way. But he says that's the birds come and they just kind of snatch it up, where some people, they just don't receive the gospel at all. Then he says some of the seed falls on rocky soil and it sprouts up very quickly, but this soil's not deep enough. And so the sun comes out, it gets hot, and it can't gather nourishment because it doesn't have deep roots. And it burns up and it's gone. It's just choked out. He also talks about some seed falling in kind of a weedy area full of thorns, and the thorns choke the life as it springs up out of the ground, until someone who was initially really strong in their faith gets choked out by the things going on around them. And then he points to the last batch of seed that falls on good soil, and it takes root and it grows deep. And it grows stronger and stronger and stronger. And I had this great idea that I would just show this clear path and these areas where grass was growing. And interestingly, I came upon this section, which is pretty close to the front of this particular path, and I couldn't get by. Now, normally the path that runs through here doesn't require a lot of maintenance because so many people are in and out. they stomp down any new growth. It's kind of like the seed that falls on the path or on the rocky soil. Even if it does take root, it's not going to be long before it's gone. But then as I got past this, I noticed the area in which I wanted to go that's just over this hill, and I want to show it to you because people stop now. They don't come through. They don't navigate over the branches like I did. They just stop, and so the path is not getting used. Now, this area used to be a clear path that you could walk through, and you can still see parts of the path, but as you look on up the hill, it is completely overgrown. The hard path has stopped being so hard, and now the vegetation is overtaking it again. This is really an amazing analogy of what it means to be good soil, to be prepared to receive the gospel. But it leads us to some questions. What does it mean to be good soil or to be prepared? And is there a way to cultivate it in ourselves and in others? There are a lot more questions around this parable than we often give it credit for. And that's what we're going to spend our time on. So I hope you'll continue to join us on our journey to be rooted, to grow deep, and to live strong. I hope you'll also plan to join us either online or in person this Sunday. And don't forget to bring a friend. This is a great opportunity for us not only to emerge out of the pandemic, but to grow closer together and closer to Christ. I'll see you this weekend.